All right, so what would you like to chat about? First, can I get your first name?
Lauren.
Lauren, gotcha. My name is Reed. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, you too.
Is this your first CPAC or no?
It is, yes.
Yeah?
Spend time enjoying the rapport-building stage before you jump into contentious issues.
What brought you here? Why were you interested?
Well, I'm here with Griffin Edition, so we're running the bookstore this year, and it's quite an adventure so far, to be honest. This whole atmosphere is honestly very relieving. It's nice to just be in a place where everybody is supportive of your decisions and you can just talk openly about whatever you want without people
To build rapport, ask sincere questions.
judging you or
How did you
rioting.
get involved with the bookstore?
I actually work there, so we're out of Omaha, Nebraska, and we have a lot of volunteers here with us today, but I'm one of the employees that actually works for the business itself. So we got in, I think CPAC got in touch with our business because we're, American, we're a small company, so it's a good opportunity for us to come to things like this, and then it ended up turning out really well, so.
Okay. What are the books about? Do they just span the gamut?
Oh, we have almost every type of nonfiction book you could possibly imagine. It's we have everything from ancient classics to science to, of course, all types of politics, and all of our speaker books are here as well. So anybody who's doing a book signing or speaking here, we have all their stuff
So it's
as
just
well.
all the above types of books.
It's literally, we probably have 1,000 types of books here, 1,000 different selections here. So
1,000? Jeez, wow. That's probably really a lot to bring over, merchandise. Wow.
Oh yeah, we're on our feet all day, but it's an exciting time, so it's okay.
Sweet. So what we do here is just like to chat with people about really whatever, preferably something they really think is true, really maybe since we're here at CPAC, maybe some type of conservative policy or value or idea that maybe most people aren't really talking about, that people should be talking about.
Focus on questions, not topics.
You mean, is there one particular issue?
Yeah, anything you think more people should get on board with in terms of conservatives, beliefs, ideas, values?
When your questions are open-ended, meaning questions that allow your partner to talk at length about her thoughts in her own words, not give single-word answers like yes and no, they invite conversations.
It's kind of an open-ended question.
Or we could do something more mainstream that you're super really believe strongly in.
Oh, that people hear? Oh, I would say a lot of people here are talking about how colleges and universities are exclusively pushing out liberals right now. And I don't know if that's just the millennial generation, since that's the one that's like the tail end of the millennial generation is coming out of college right now. But I've heard a lot of people say that it's almost exclusively liberals that are coming out, and they're going into big corporations and they're taking over things. Like I was just talking to a lady who said her son used to work for Google and then left because it was so liberal, like he couldn't even survive in an environment like that because it's just like all those intellectual people who came out of school are right in there in those big companies. So I think that's kind of suffocating for a lot of people.
Attempt to re-express your target's position so clearly, vividly, and fairly that your target says, thanks. I wish I'd thought of putting it that way.
So if you're a conservative parent seeing a child or a teenager going into college, it's like, it seems to be, people are saying they'll likely end up after, 4 years of college, they might be go from conservative to a liberal.
Yeah.
And even if they're conservative after, they might go into a liberal company.
Yeah.
So this is the issues.
Those are the issues, but I'd say it's not impossible to come out of a college being a liberal. I feel like
being a conservative?
Yeah. Well, no. You're
remaining conservative.
Yes, remaining conservative. So I think my conservative values have only strengthened because I've seen the sort of brainwashing that goes on amongst my peers, and it's kind of scary just to see people accepting things and then getting outraged for no reason whatsoever. It's like they only have rioting and then nothing.
When in doubt, start with how or what.
What's the worst form of brainwashing that you've seen? What are they pushing? What type of belief are they pushing?
Honestly, I think it's a little bit of them not really understanding how these issues are playing out in practicality. Like I'd say conservatives and liberals often want the same thing. They both want what's best for the country, but the path to get to what's best for the country is so radically different. I think that's where they get misguided most frequently. they want good things, the path to get there, they don't understand it, and so they push it, and then they end up saying things that are extremely socialist or extremely communist without really understanding the consequences of it.
Uh-huh.
So that becomes challenging, and I don't know if it's just an uneducated thing. I think they like to say that we're uneducated about things, but maybe it's just they hear an idea and then they spit it out without really thinking about how it would play out or how that's actually supposed to be implemented.
Minimal encouragers are an effortless way to let your conversation partner know you're listening.
Uh-huh.
I mean, even some conservative values, of course there are things that we want in conservatism, but it's not necessarily what's most practical for how it plays out in actual government and politics and communities. So that's where it becomes a little bit rocky.
Okay, so what I'm hearing you say is liberal conservatives have pretty similar goals. It's just the difference in means and in the methods to get
Definitely.
there. What is a method that liberals are pushing out that seems to be not going to work or have negative consequences that you see?
Free college.
Free college?
Yeah, of course. They hear free college and they think, of course. I mean, wouldn't it be awesome if everybody could be educated and everybody had the same opportunity? Of course, that would be amazing. But that also comes with tons of consequences that the left doesn't really think through. I mean, that would be higher taxes for everybody. That would be lower quality of education. That would be more competitive in the job market if everybody was educated and everybody was going for those white-collar jobs.
Okay, before we get into the reasons.
Once you've selected a topic, narrow it down and clearly state it in question format.
So the question is should the U.S. have free college? And by free college, we mean public universities?
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, of course we shouldn't have free college.
Yeah, that's the question we're talking about.
Oh, yeah. No, definitely not.
So
define words up front.
And what do we mean by free college? Anyone can go to a public university for free?
I mean, that would be an extreme version of
or
that.
just people pay and then get debt forgiveness, or just have scholarships? What do they mean by free college?
Oh, you mean what I've personally heard?
Yeah.
Oh.
What is free college?
What is free college? I would call free college making it so easy to access college that everybody can do it and there's no competition whatsoever. So that could play out a little bit differently, but I would say it would have to be inexpensive enough that it would practically be free, so I guess paid by taxes.
Just government subsidizes tuition,
Yeah.
So it's $1,000 to go to most colleges,
Yeah.
$2,000, something like that.
So anything that would destroy any sort of competition, that is what I would consider free college, or to that level. So yeah, subsidizing or
And
government-funded scholarships.
Okay, so you're saying we should not have that type of subsidization system in the U.S. for college?
Yes, that is what I'm saying.
Use scales to gauge effective interventions, figure out how confident someone is in a belief, and put issues into perspective.
If all the way to the right is absolutely yes, we should have this type of subsidization, or absolutely no, we should not, where would you put your current confidence about that?
Wait, so this is...
You have your own.
Oh.
This is absolutely yes, we should have that type of subsidization program policy?
Yeah, and then that would be absolutely
That would
no.
be absolutely no.
Mine would be here-ish.
About there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Use scales to help your partner reverse their thinking. Let's suppose they say, I'm at an 8. Rather than asking them, why not 6? Immediately follow up by asking about a higher number. Doing so will help them reveal their doubts.
What keeps you from going all the way?
Because I can acknowledge in some part that there are biases and there are inequality issues that need to be addressed. And so I think, in some capacity, I think it would be the government's role to come in and actually help those people that may not have the same opportunities. So in that way, I would say, yes, for the greater good of this country, for the greater good of people who may not have the same opportunities, and that's not necessarily based on race or gender or anything like that, just people who don't have the same opportunities. I would say for the good of the country, it's okay for the government to step in a little bit and help those people out, or just help anybody out, really. Struggling college students are often...
So if we want a good society, education may be a good way to do that, so the government may subsidize that in some way?
Yeah.
Okay.
But, not in a way that would compromise other aspects of higher education.
And
The single most effective technique to instill doubt and help people change their minds is to ask, under what conditions could, whatever the belief is, be wrong?
Maybe like last question, feel free to use your imagination of like anything hypothetically that you could learn or find out to make it go to like the middle.
Okay.
What could you learn that would cause you to revise your confidence to just the middle, hypothetically?
What could I learn about
this policy of having free college? You're currently leaning towards no.
Oh, yeah.
What would make you be more just not sure completely? What could you learn? What could be the case that would cause you to revise your...
I would want to know more about the process of...
Pauses are crucial moments when people reflect. Do not rush to fill them.
people who may not have the same, like, I grew up middle class, so I would want to know more about, maybe not minorities, but I guess you could call them minorities, their process of going into school. I would want to learn more about that, and I would want to learn about their process and how they feel about it. Because, like, I can hypotheticalize what I would want for them, but I'm not them, so I can't really say, like, those would probably be the people who would push for free college more than I would, because, I mean...
If you hear, like, stories or just reasons from those types of, some of those people...
I respond to that
what
sort of
could they
rhetoric.
say that would persuade you?
That's an interesting question.
I was just here to think about some stuff.
If I heard that somebody's life was absolutely destroyed and they ended up like, so if they were on a good track and then they couldn't get into a college because they didn't have enough money or they were a minority and then they got into the system or something like that and their life absolutely tanked. If I heard enough of those stories, I'd probably start to think about something a little bit differently. Like I would want to see the actual consequences of people not being able to go to school. Like it'd have to be a weighty consequence for them.
Yeah, it's like an opportunity cost. If people can't go to college because of the cost, they might have to go into some more nefarious types of lines of employment.
Like if that
or like
is what's actually
employment.
happening, then I think it's important to know about it. Yeah.
So if we saw data around that, where people, if we had this policy for like 5 years and people like that type of, things started happening less and they started going to it more.
Yeah, I would want to know about that.
Love it. Thanks, Lauren.
Politely leaving a conversation when all parties are getting along can be an opportunity for those involved to reflect on issues. Try to end on a positive note. Sometimes even a simple, "Thanks for chatting with me," is sufficient.
I appreciate the talk. Any questions for me? That was nice.
What is this organization?
Street Epistemology. It's a nonprofit trying to help promote how to have a conversation, how to have better conversations around deeply held beliefs.
Yeah.
Any belief, really.
It's very helpful. You should speak at college campuses.
Oh, really? Thank you. I do go to college campuses.
Oh, perfect.
And
Great.
set up a table and do this type of thing.
Oh,
I have a Cordial Curiosity is my YouTube channel.
Yeah.
You can see a bunch of my videos there.
That's cool. I like it.
Thank you. Appreciate
thank
it.
you.
Nice to meet you.
Have a good day.
You too.